Welcome to my review of The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I'm so excited to be talking about this book. It's one of my favorites that I've read. I just finished it a few days ago and I already ordered his Mistborn series. I love it. I can't wait to talk about it with you guys, but there are some things that I am going to, a couple, what are they called? Warnings, not warnings, is another word for it, but whatever. There are a couple like issues with this book that I do want to address, and I was super excited to be reviewing it. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. Welcome to the channel. And one special thing for you guys, if you are a long-term subscriber to the channel, you may notice that I have a Lego thing here, right? This is the first type of video I've done like this, and so I wanted to include something from my past. So I actually did this Lego mock of the cover of the book. So we have who I can only assume is Dalinar from the book. He's one of our protagonists, standing atop of the Shattered Plains with his flag and his shard blade, which is here. This is the closest thing I can get. I'll talk more about this custom minifigure in another video at some point if you guys are interested in seeing more of that. And I also have Kaladin with his spear, right? So super cool. Here, I'll bring it closer to you guys so you can see. But I am really proud of this. It's just a really short, quick mock, but I think it gets the job done. So if you want me to go into how I made this and like custom characters and maybe doing more custom characters in The Way of Kings, let me know. Anyway, into the book review. So this book, I'm just gonna go ahead and start off by addressing the elephant in the room, and the elephant in the room is all of this. It is 1,000 pages long. It is long. It is a hefty book, right? Now, it is summer at this point in time when I'm uploading this video, so if you have time, which hopefully you do, I still highly recommend that you read it, but it is like a test of endurance, right? 1,000 pages, it's actually 1,001 pages, exactly, this edition of it. And this is the paperback, but not the mass marketplace, in case you're ordering it off Amazon. Anyway, I am here today to tell you that it is worth it. It is 100% worth reading, right? So the basic premise of the story is that there's this war happening on the Shattered Plains. All of these kingdoms in this small part of the world, Alethkar, are like divided. They're all competing. The high princes, which are basically kings, they're like high lords, are all competing to get these like giant gemstones because it's worth tons of money. But they're supposed to be at war with their enemies, which are the Parshendi, which is like a different race of people. They think that they're like clans, like tribal, they're not sophisticated. Anyway, I'm not gonna, without going into too many spoilers, we follow basically three main characters. We follow Kaladin, this guy here, who is a spearman, and I'll be quick with the summary, don't worry, I promise, in case you've read the book and you're just here for my thoughts. But Kaladin, who's like a lowly spearman, he was once a great warrior. Kaladin Stormblessed is his full name, and then something happened, which is revealed in the book. Basically, he was turned into a slave. And I won't tell you what that is, but it's cool. It's really cool, especially given the context of this book. Kaladin becomes a slave, and then we follow him as he's a bridge man, which is basically a guy that carries bridges for one of the high princes. And the bridgemen are always at the front of the conflict. The Parshendi always try to kill them, so it's really dangerous. But we follow him. It's really interesting, and how he develops in his role as a bridgeman and well, I'm not going to say anything else, but we also follow this girl, Shallan, who is learning to train, or who wants to train and be the ward of this woman, Jasna, right? Who is the princess of the whole of Alethkar. And she's also kind of kooky, right? Like there's a religion that's sewn in, which envelops all of these things, including this like thing called soul casting, which is like magic, basically. But it also includes these things called shard blades, which are like super powerful blades that they don't actually slice through people, they like slice through their souls. It really sounds weird, but it's like really cool, I promise. And the shard plate, which is like the special armor, and then there's other like stuff happening in the background. I'm not gonna go into everything, right? And then our third main character is Dalinar, who is this guy here. He's like a war general who used to be like amazing, and now he's kind of faltering. He's getting these visions. He's not sure if he's going insane or if it's real, and we're not really sure if he's going insane or if it's real for a lot of the book. But if you read it, you know. But it's really interesting. I promise it's really interesting. And so, long story short, is it worth reading the 1,000 pages for this? Yes, 100%. And I am going to say that the main reasons for that are one, the world, and two, the plot, right? Like those two things go hand in hand. They're equal, I think. And then three, because it's just cool. Like it is, if you want a great fantasy story that is nothing like anything you've read before, you read this. Like it is amazing. First, to talk about the world. This world is one of the most unique I have ever seen in anything I've ever read or watched or like consumed, right? It's almost like what Sanderson has done here is he's taken the races and the tropes of like Tolkien-esque fantasy that are kind of like pervasive through basically all fantasy books now, and just said, I don't want to do any of that. I'm inventing everything myself. We're doing nothing like Tolkien did, and he did, right? So this whole world is based on these giant storms that spawn out of somewhere in the center, and they all like destroy things. They carry this stuff. It's like this muck. I forget what it's called, crumb or something. That like coats things. It's like cement. Things are like flying. Like you're caught out in the storm, you die, basically. But the thing with the storm is that it charges these gems that are like they're called storm. It's called stormlight, and it's stored in these little gems, which are also the currency of the of the kingdom. But they can also be used for other stuff, right? It's like they give off light, they use them as the light source. And anyway, it's super interesting. And then on top of that, the history of this world is crazy. They've got the Oath, or not the Oathbringers, what are they? It's another book. They've got there's the Heralds, there's the Desolations. All of the history of this world is like just so rich and interesting and nothing like you've ever read before, right? Some of the notable races, we've got the Parshendi. It's these guys that can leap really far distances. They, well, I'm not going to spoil that, but they have like red and black skin. And then there's also this like other race, the Parshmen, which is like they don't speak, but they have similar attributes. All of this stuff is just, there's so many other races. I forget what they're called, but Rock, whatever he is, this big guy. He's from like somewhere in the mountains, and he's always like, oh, you air-sick lowlanders, right? He's great. And it's just like I don't even know how he came up with all of this. It's just like so cool. Anyway, then on to the plot. If you read and liked Game of Thrones, you will like this. I feel confident, especially the end. The last, like, I had heard before I started reading Sanderson that the last 200 pages of the book are like the most like insane thing ever. Like basically like the first like 80% of the book is building up, and then the last 20% is everything coming together. And that's accurate. At least for this book, it's 100% accurate. I can't speak to the other things yet, but I will soon. And the whole book is great, but those last like probably 10 or 12 chapters, and probably more than that, honestly, maybe like last 20 or 30 chapters, just incredible, right? It's everything has come together, and it's not like everything has come together like it's the end. It's everything has come together like it's the beginning, and you're seeing these plot. I hesitate to call them plot twists because you can see them coming if you're really looking for them. It's these plot developments, right? That you just like you wouldn't think. I mean, you might think of it. I didn't think of it, and I was reading it. It happened, and I was like, oh my god! Like, how did that like? It makes so much sense when you really think about it. It's like all along you couldn't have trusted him, right? Like, I'm not going to say what that refers to, but you know what I mean if you've read the book. Anyway, yeah, really incredible book. So I talked about earlier with Dalinar how he's having these visions and he doesn't know if he's going insane or not, right? And that's a really important theme, and the people around him are worried about him, and you see how people react to it, and it feels realistic, right? So these characters, and Sanderson uses mental health as like a vehicle to make these characters feel real in a way that characters, even like in Game of Thrones, don't feel quite to that level. Now, they do kind of that was a bad example, but like, take for example something like Aragon, where you're seeing in his head, but it's like, I mean, I'll talk about Aragon in another video, like I will get to that, but like these characters just feel real, and you really can relate to them on like a level that is beyond almost anything I've ever read. And it's really incredible, right? Especially, a lot of authors I've seen on YouTube talk about how it's like, sometimes you write a book and you pick the wrong character to write about, right? Because you have your main character, and then there's really a side character that's more interesting to focus on. Sanderson picks the right characters to talk about because these are the characters that are the most interesting. Now this is a multiple point of view book, right? So there are other characters that I didn't mention earlier that you see the perspective of. There's one Seth son Svarith or something like that, who's also prevalent throughout. I won't say what his purpose in the plot is, but if you've read the book. Part of the advantage with that is that if you have a character that's interesting, you can show their perspective as well. So I think that may be part of it, but really he does do a great job. And then with Kaladin, right, back on the mental health, Kaladin is depressed and suffering with suicidal thoughts in parts of the book, which you can imagine, right? Like he was a great soldier to a slave, basically. And I'm not going to go any further than that into his story, but it's really incredible. This book is a masterclass in almost everything it does. The world building masterclass, the actual storytelling masterclass, the plot developments, the interweaving of things together, building suspense, And I will say that one thing, especially in like the first like probably 300 pages of this book, I would always like when I finished a Kaladin chapter, I would be really mad because I would have to read Dalinar and I'd have to read Shallan to get back to him. And I was like, oh my god, like can we just keep getting Kaladin, because Kaladin's like my favorite character. Like I'm not gonna actually. I don't even know if that's true, because at the end of the book, I think Dalinar may be my new favorite character. I don't know. You know, these characters are great. Like these are characters that I would put in my top characters of all time, up with like Jon Snow, Luke Skywalker, right? Like these characters are incredible, and it's a masterclass in writing. So there are a couple things that I will say about this book, which is that one is the length, right? It's 1,001 pages exactly, and that is a lot. Now I will say, Sanderson, like, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but does a really good job of having chapters end like at the 50-page marks, which is great because I can sit down and be like, all right, I'm gonna read to page 350, and then at 350 a chapter ends, and I can be like, all right, that's perfect, I can stop now. Which is really, it does matter, right? You think about your reading experience, and it's not just the story, that also matters a little bit, but the writing itself. Sanderson writes in an interesting way. So I've never really read anything that feels like this before. It's a point of view story. The closest thing I can get to is Game of Thrones, I think. But it's a point of view story where you are seeing the perspective of the characters basically in every word. Characters have really distinct voices, I think is what I'm trying to get at, the way Sanderson writes. So you can tell a Kaladin chapter from like a Shallan chapter just by the way that the character is like interpreting things, you know, the way when Brenderson has written that they're interpreting things. And I think that that's really incredible, because that is a thing that you don't see with a lot of other authors, right? Especially authors that like typically do single character perspectives. Like you see the shift from Aragon to Murtagh, and you get, I mean, you can feel that it's shifted, but it's still the same author's voice. Like Sanderson is like, he has like minimized his own voice. I think that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, it doesn't sound like Sanderson. It sounds like the characters, which is like that is what you want. That is how you write an amazing novel, right? You don't write it from your own, like you don't write it yourself. You have your characters' perspectives tell the story. And he's really done a fantastic job of that. So like massive props to him. This is like probably my favorite book I've ever read, honestly. I don't know what would be better. The one thing about this book is that I wish they would make a TV show out of it. This could not be a movie. It could absolutely not be a movie. It would have to be like 4 separate movies for each of the main perspectives, including Adeline, who I didn't mention, who's Dalinar's son. It would have to be 4 separate movies. But if they did it as a TV show, like Game of Thrones style, especially because this is Stormlight Archive, right? So if they wait like probably like 5 or 6 years, once he's got one more book out, I think it'll work. And just started adapting into a TV show like they did with Game of Thrones. Except this time, they don't finish it before the author, right? Then, like seriously, I think that this could be incredible. I don't think it's gonna have as wide an appeal as Game of Thrones would, because Game of Thrones is more of an adult-focused show, right? Like this is adult-focused, like, right, but like anyone could read this, is the thing. With Game of Thrones, like you kind of can't read it until you're an adult, because there's just content in it that you wouldn't want like a kid to read. Sanderson is Mormon, which means that there's no swearing in the book, which is great. And then there's also like basically, like there's really nothing inappropriate. So that is it for my review of this book. I'm gonna give it like on a scale of 1 through 10. I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. This is a 10 out of 10 book. Like I'm sorry, anyone who says it isn't like did we read the same book? Are you sure we read the same book, or did you read like The Way of Kings spelled like curds and whey? Like I don't even know. Like this is just like such a good book. It's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. I would say it's probably a modern classic. So you know, you don't have to take my opinion into account. But yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one, which we'll probably be talking about these minifigures. I may do more with that, but I actually really want to. Let me know if you want to see that. But thank you guys so much for watching the video. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.